It's pretty amazing. Just these are the eternal gifts. Okay. You're a powerful magnet. When you're a monopole, a polarity integrator, we're like big sponges. I mean, really big sponges. Because when you're the center point of all creation, like the one, which means when you are what love is, and you know that's the law, because you're experiencing the vibration in the purity of your own heart, soul, and the essence of your spirit, which is the nature of our spirit. And you're experiencing that much power, which is that much fire within your own heart and soul. You're an Energizer Bunny, right? Because you experience being an Energizer Bunny. So you're experiencing powerful energy, which is powerful love. You're on fire. So once you've experienced that vibration and it's recorded in memory in one of these, an avatar, where you have Ram, the ram's horn, okay, which is the difference between the torque speed between minus/plus, which is complex numbers between negative numbers and positive numbers. So when you go look at a football field with the NFL, for example, they're representing those. There's not a plus sign or just a sign. You just assume it's a positive number. So in your mind, that's positive. But what they represent in energy in their mind, their software is negative. Let's call it a false positive. That's a reversal. Because all you got to do is look at the markers on the field with the H, which is H, two poles going vertical and one going horizontal, and they use a spiral football. So one of the things that I did this morning is to just expose to some of these guys, but you realize that the posters that are running through this artificial intelligence to play this game simulator, because that's what it is, it's based on reverse magnetic polarity, which is a reversal current. It's negative electrical current. So when you think of the bloodlines between the negative and the positive, that's a torque speed difference between the two that are here, between two magnets, right? So a polarity integrator wants to bring it all back to one, which means we're all one. See? So when you're all one, then you're experiencing what love is, which is the one. So it began with the one. That's a love vibration. And that's a real vibration, which is real light, which is living energy, which is living light that we share, which means we're gifting electrons. We're gifting energy away, just naturally, without even having to think about it, because it's not a thought form. It's a vibration. You just feel it. You feel it electromagnetically. It's your soul that runs the software, led by spirit. And that spirit is in that light, which is what love is. So you're purifying your way as you go when you realize that you're on a battlefield clearing DNA debris fields. That's really what it is. Codes that have been broken as a result of souls that have been fractured, which means their software has been altered. So their consciousness has been altered. Now their consciousness goes dark mirror. That's a mental field. Now it's lost any emotional and power connection that it has from the source from which it came. It no longer experiences in memory. That's what makes the perfect assassin for the MK Ultra and any power structure like Wall Street and the Illuminati. Right? So sometimes when I go through a lot of different sites and I see what are really networkers, that's what we do. We're networkers. Right? When you run down the street and go to meet somebody else or even a tree, you're networking with a tree. Everything that is in nature is a network. Everything that is in this planet is a network. Planetary software, we're all connected, right? Obviously, a motherboard, routers, modems, and all the rest of it, right? Accelerators, a drive motor, a hard drive motor, right? How fast does your drive go? Remember in the early days when they came out with DOS and then it came to Windows? And there was a fight over software companies that were developers that wanted to get their cut of the action because of Silicon Valley, and they realized, man, I can make $1 billion overnight as a software developer. Man, I need the codes. And everybody wanted the codes of Microsoft kernels in order to be able to communicate in arguments because that's how it works. Those are mathematical codes to be able to communicate. Now everybody's consciousness is running through an API interface, which is artificial intelligence, a result of all these souls that have gone dark. That's the mental field. So in other words, you're not experiencing any love through these people. So what happens is when you come into a planetary system with two poles as a polarity integrator, you're measuring the resistance game between those that are in resistance to experience more love and those that do. And the difference between the two is the torque speed difference between the two, which is to keep the poles in balance. So they don't know how to balance their own poles. They don't know how to balance their own planetship. So that's a measurement in learning. Right? So as androgynous, that comes easy because it means that you chose to surrender all of your energy on behalf of the one to serve. So you're always experiencing what love is. That's called a key. You have a built-in pass key. Now that you are what love is, which is living energy, which is what love is, which is 528, that's 15D. You have a pass key to go everywhere you want in the entire template. Right. Remember, wherever you find love and living spirit, you'll find us. So it's a matter of surrender. They refuse to surrender, so they lose. By default, I made a video on that in downtown San Francisco. You know, when somebody was walking right by me, that you know, they can feel your energy. Okay, so they know that you're running a love vibration. They know you're running on a lot of power. They're picking it up on with their antenna. So what do you think the response from that was? Say something to me to try and drive my energy down, drive my antenna down. So now I know what it is, which isn't what love is. And that's how you know the difference. That's why the law of one makes it easy. Now you know the difference between the other, between what one is. One is what love is. If you're not experiencing love in somebody else, then you know they're not experiencing one. They're not experiencing what love is, or they wouldn't say those kind of things to people. Instead, they would probably have a smile on their face. Hey, how are you doing? Acknowledging you, honoring your energy, that you're in this universe. We're all in this universe together. So you're measuring. You can walk down any street, any town, any forest, walk anywhere you want on this planet. Right? Go say hi. Hey, how you doing? Right? So when you're online, it's a little more tricky. Like, for example, I'm thinking about this guy named Jason Shurka, and I'll just share this with you because it's true, because I experience it. Experience is the teacher, because you're being informed of the relationship that you have with another being and how they respond to your communication. Right? So, because you're not in person, you're not able to experience their antenna or looking directly into eyes to eyes, soul to soul, spirit to spirit, to experience their spiritual energy, right? Because then you can measure that against a love vibration. Well, they're not one of us because they're not experiencing what love is. Or it could be they need healing. Where are you from? What happened to you? So you're measuring the torque speed difference between the two, between both poles, whether their poles are in balance. So now you can see the difference between what's being held captive in memory as a result of their experiences that are held in memory. And that would include everything else that's been recorded in that RAM as a result of being in this system, in a fallen system. And those are all the recordings that are running simultaneously through everybody that is connected through all the cellular memories, which is all the RAM. So in order to be able to raise and erase those that have been experienced and held in RAM as a result of what they present from which it comes, you got to burn it off. The ultimate fire, right? Burn it all up. Right? That's the spirit of fire. That's the spirit that's in that light. That's a big-ass engine. Right? So that's a big-ass fire. Because I've been around big-ass fires, been surrounded by a lot of fire around us. Particularly at night. It's very spectacular. But you realize what happens when the night comes, you see the damage that was done on all the homes that were lost. Plus the pain and the suffering that the trees went through. And you're losing mirrors, powerful mirrors, lines of communication. They're reflecting the light through photosynthesis bands. So they use it as a weapon against us. So they weaponize spirit because their consciousness is weaponized. Because their light went dark. Fractures. Alter, 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 alter. So the more trauma that they can induce produces fear, because now that light creates that an amnesic barrier between what they once were that they're no longer experiencing. So they're not experiencing love anymore because they were experiencing trauma from somebody that traumatized them. Now they're experiencing what they are instead of experiencing what they are, which was the one. In other words, I was experiencing being what love is. Now I'm not experiencing what love is. I'm experiencing what they are that did it to me. And the reason they did it to me is because I am what love is, and they're in fear of that energy. That means that they're not sane. They're not even logical. It means they don't know what they're doing. They've lost their mind. It means that they don't experience the one. They're not experiencing what love is. Otherwise, they would know being in the presence of the one vibration. But that vibration scares them because they realize how powerful it is. So now they want to blame us for what happened to them because we didn't protect them from that experience that they had where that trauma occurred as a result of a seeded races that did it to them, that became fallen in spirit, because that spirit no longer experiences what love is, which is the one. So the one is like a self-correction. See, I have to self-correct and recalibrate myself all the time, particularly around here with 5G, right? But yesterday I went out to this rock and had the most unbelievable experience after smoking a green glass pipe, because I love emerald green, right? Emerald green pools, living emerald green pools. And open up a DH9 receptor and then just put both my hands and my feet into this rock, which is the big on of Hawaii, looked directly up at the sun, and just began absorbing like a polarity integrated well so much energy that when I got up, it was like being punch drunk. It's like being drunk on energy. Wow, I pulled a lot, both from the sun and this rock. It's like being a reflector. You know, you're just pulling like a magnet. You're pulling all that energy from the sun and in this rock because this rock is so powerful. So that certainly made a difference. And I know that because of a couple things that happened this morning that are like informers, right? They're like glitches. Hey, what happened? What caused that? So when you realize the things that you're doing, or I was doing, and then all of a sudden you realize there's an underlying causality because they happen simultaneously. So like, for instance, on this phone, I have two connections, one of which is with Verizon, which is 4G. And then on the other side of the house here, there's modem that is set up for 5G, Wi-Fi. Okay? And so it's one of the reasons why I do supplement my physical body with a lot of stuff that keeps, with essential oils and turmeric and avocados and pomegranate juice, blueberry juice, molasses. My Salmonac didn't come. Who knows what happened to that, but Amazon said it was delivered, but I haven't got it yet, so you know how that works. The AI can redirect something through its drones, and all of a sudden it just doesn't come to me because it doesn't want me to have it. That's how it works. That's how the AI drone system works. Through its assets, which means people have lost their soul connection, which means they don't experience the one anymore. So they're operating on the mental field with the AI. So now whatever the AI wants to send as a programmed instruction, like a cybernetic instruction set, then they're going to operate on that, which is like a redirect. So in other words, they're not synced with us because of running negative, if you will. So they do negative things without realizing it. In many cases, because of being fully programmed as a result of the amount of trauma that they've gone through, that fractures and fractures and fractures and fractures, and they've lost so much of their light, they do things to basically make their mirror go black mirror. You know, using a nuclear power station to blow holes in their own energy field is not very intelligent, right? But it's easy to know why that happens because you're measuring the resistance that they have within them to even experience what love is, so you know that they don't experience any love with them. Aaron in his house does not experience any love at all. Okay? And he's in resistance mode, major resistant mode to even experience it. So he operates purely on the mental field, on the AI field. That's why he's able to process so much, so he knows how the numbers work. But what it means is that even though, and this is true because I knew this as a child, just because you know something doesn't mean you're living it. You can know what love is, but not be what love is. Okay? There's a difference between knowing it and being it and knowing it. In other words, I can give you the knowledge and you say, yeah, I know what love is. It's a 528 frequency or whatever frequency that you know. But I will know whether you're experiencing the actual energy as a vibration within your own heart and soul, because I'm going to experience the energy that gets measured against the energy that I am that is. So if I am what love is and you're not experiencing what that is, that's an easy measurement because you're an antenna. So you're picking up on the difference of the frequency. So you know they're running low band. They're low frequency. They're running low band radio. So you're running a high band radio. Now you're into bandwidth frequencies, right? Now you're getting into 15D stuff and all the frequencies that are available to you in color codes to experience everything there is to experience in all of creation, because you're one with all creation. Now you're experiencing internal love vibration through you because you've chosen to surrender to the one and become what that is. That's a monopole. Like going from a single cell to daughter cells, or a single cell to a multicellular organism. Now you go from a single cell, like one dimension, into all the other dimensions. But what it really boils down to, if you're a creative artist and you're on fire, is there's no boundaries. Because you realize you've got an automatic passkey to go wherever the spirit wants to go, because the spirit that is in that light is a purifier. So that's called decon. Remember when the military was using DEFCON 3 and all those numbers? Well, you know what decontamination is, right? I worked in hazmat. It's one of the reasons why I went into environmental engineering, was to look at some of the technologies that they were using, like xenobots. So you know what an automated system is. It means it runs on its automaton. It means it's automatically programmed to carry out functions, task modalities, right? So in other words, it's operating on your behalf because you're the programmer, right, that programmed and realized how to be able to do that. So now you can see what its function is doing by you being the one that did it. So you're the programmer that programmed the function of that bot. So that's its function, right? So that's what it does. And those bots were, and this is how they work, see? In other words, they're not ever thinking about the future that they're going to experience, which is what love is. So they'll invest their mind and their energy to come up with technology as a result of what they're doing now that destroys the environment in the now, that they're going to experience the feedback in the future. So now they got to come up with something to try and fix what they did in the beginning that they weren't aware of, because they're not concerned about that. They're more concerned about accumulating more electrons as a result of always being in the hole, which means they can never catch up to zero. So they're always trying to catch up to zero, and they can never catch up to zero, because it's the same thing as one drink is too many and a gazillion is never going to be enough, which is self-destruction program, which means they're running a mirror that's going to self-destroy itself at some point. So the only way that it can maintain what it's aware of is by fracturing other souls in order to maintain what it's aware of, which is the mental field. So now the artificial intelligence becomes larger in size as a formation of bots that are now connected with it, because they don't experience any love within their heart. Their soul's gone. So now they're basically just programmed machinery, automatons, autopilot. So what I do is when I'm on the internet and I'm looking at all these different beings, the faces, the presentation, right? I'm like being in a movie theater can talk to you. That's their mirror, then there's your mirror, right? So one mirror is presenting itself to you. Now you have your mirror that you're experiencing their mirror that's communicating to us. Okay, so how do you know the difference between what they are and what you are if they look like you, right? Now this is particularly true when you get into the different sites that you go to, whether it's a blog spot, whether it's a YouTube channel, Rumble. It doesn't make any difference where you go, because it's a mirror that you're using, which is artificial, which means it's dead light. And so how would you know the difference between somebody who just has, a number or letters that are arranged with a little icon? Sometimes there may be no icon. So you're in a community on a thread, for example, and here is what's being talked about, what's being discussed. And so you decide, okay, based on what I know, because of my experiences, what I've learned, this is what I know. And then you're going to get a response if anybody else chooses to respond to you. So, for example, one of the things that I notice about channels that use very particular kinds of terminology, alphabet soup, like the Inspire channel, right? Or Jason Shurka, or what's his name, the guy that was a Navy SEAL. There are very little what are known as reading the codes, okay? And there's certain little things that you can look for that they're using their consciousness and their energy to present to us that on one level seems like, whoa, that sounds like a good thing. That sounds like a good thing. But it's always going to be based on one metric, which is what love is, because that's the law. But the other one that is coupled to that is called honor and trust. How do you know you can trust that being? Now, see, I knew as a 4-year-old child, trust no one, but I trust my energy because I know what I am. I'm a one, I'm a monopole. So I know I can trust me. So now I have to read the field. Now I'm reading the field. So when you're online, it's a little more tricky to have to manage to know the resistance in others when they're communicating to you, particularly when all it is written text or simply computer-generated visual text information. That's all you're seeing, right? But there are little telltale signs, okay, because of the way that I experience who I am and the way that they experience who they are, and then knowing the differences between the two, so to speak, between what I am and what they are, okay? And that simply means what they experienced that was held in RAM, which represents a record of everything that they experienced that is held in record, the manner in which they were using their own soul's mirror to experience what they did. See, so for example, with me, when I was, 17 years of age, and this would have been during the Vietnam era, around 67, 68, and they said they had the draft. We're going to draft you like draft beer, okay? We're going to draft Americans to go into the Vietnam War, even though President Kennedy had already drafted a couple memorandums to get the CIA out of the business of developing wars in order to take over and control more of their cash crops, okay, which is control over more resources. All of it, actually. Anything that is represented by value and wish to increase the numbers in their account that they have access to is what they do because they're parasites. Vampires. You have vampires and bigger vampires. Okay, that's the capstone on the dollar bill that you see with the Draco and the Anunnaki. And so one of the things that you can measure when you go with these folks is they're always selling you stuff. Always selling you stuff, which means they're wanting your money, which means they want your electricity. Okay? So in the olden days, for example, if you were moseying along across the plains and you ran into an Indian tribe, chances are, if they saw that your horse went lame, went dead, you're on your foot, bad things happen to you, they'd give you a horse, give you a blanket, feed you, get you back on your way so that you're going to have some success in your future. If you will, love and service to others because they experience a love vibration. So it is natural for somebody that is experiencing a love vibration, that has care, kindness, and compassion for you, and sees that you are not experiencing what love is as a result of what happened to you, then in order to restore me, which is to restore them, they're going to do everything that they can to restore you, to get you back on your way again so you're experiencing a state of love and joy so you can experience the one again from which it gave you that stuff to help you. That's love and service to others. Okay? They don't do that. A corporation in and of itself, by definition, is not in the business of giving anything. They're inverted. They're in the business of acquisition of more assets, which is represented by more energy. Now that they have more energy, they can use more energy to try and control more of what they don't love in their own mirror. That's what happens. So that becomes a resistance game in any universe, in any planet, in any star system, is their ability to experience more love. So you're experiencing on this planet, the reason that it's fallen is because of the density game. It fell into negative space. That's negative electrical current. That's dirty electricity. That's contamination. That's a decon zone. So then we quarantine that stuff. So it's got to be cleaned up. And how do you clean something like that up? More fire. That's what I do. Go ask my clan mother, Karen Ann Luke McDonald. Okay. She put it out there on Project Ascension. That's one of the things that I do throughout is to see how many people have actually gone to go look at that information. And then you could probably find out who went to that channel, why they went to that channel, where a gazillion others didn't. And how come? How come certain people were gravitating to that magnet, to learn through that magnet? What that magnet was showing us that we could learn through them, the information that they were sharing, which was meant to heal people and get your energy up. Could you tell the difference? Because all of that was actually free information. She wasn't charging anybody for the knowledge and the wisdom that she'd gained over the course of her soul's existence to share all that free information with others, upon which people can learn how to do it themselves, which is self-directed learning. Now you're learning how to manage your own energy field by virtue of somebody else as a spiritual guide sharing that information with you for free, because that's what love is. Because whenever we come into a place like this and experience sickness, ill, remember a bill in Congress, be ill? Then you're not experiencing a state of health and wellness, are you? So we do. So if I'm experiencing a state of health and wellness, how come you're not? Money. All their systems that they set up on this planet are always going to collapse, because it's always set up in order to suck energy out of others until it's gone, which means leave it as a dead planet when we're done, which means everything is expendable. That makes it a planet killer. That's the AI mental field, planet killer field, because it doesn't experience what love is. That's how you know one from the other. That's the terrain that we measure when we come in here, is the resistance between those that experience what love is, which is what the one is, which is the law of spheres, and those that don't.